say yes to the things that really fuel you rather than saying yes to everything, which overwhelms your calendars.
Welcome to Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights, a podcast by coaches for coaches. Our guests share their hard-won wisdom to help you grow your coaching business and create a life of success. So get ready to unlock the blueprints to your success. Welcome, everyone, to our latest episode. Thanks so much for joining us today. And I'm excited to introduce you to somebody who I've known for quite a while now, and I'm excited to have her back. Her name is Leslie Gaudet. Her company is Her Extraordinary Life by Design, and she is a self-care strategist. So welcome to the show, Leslie. We're so excited you're here.
Oh, Jeannie, thank you so much. I'm actually excited. I was looking forward to this today. So thank you for having me.
Excellent. We like hearing that. So tell us a little bit about what a self-care strategist is, and then kind of tell us how you ended up becoming one.
Absolutely. So I'm somebody who will come in and take a look at what your self-care practices are, especially because I know a lot of time people think of self-care as those things. I call them like fluff self-care, like mani-pedis, massages, getting your hair done, buying yourself something expensive, or going out for an expensive dinner, going on a trip. Those are all great because they are celebrations of you. You're rewarding yourself for something. But I look at self-care as something else. So helping you strategize your time and your energy management and how that relates to your calendar, or being able to teach yourself how to actually say yes to the things that really fuel you rather than saying yes to everything, which overwhelms your calendar. So we'll help you to actually figure out like how you want your days to go. And this has to align with your lifestyle because not everyone has the same lifestyle, of course. Some are parents, some have young children, and some are not parents. So it really just depends on your lifestyle. But that's kind of like what a strategist does. Comes in and looks like what you've got going on, what are the gaps, what's working, and then maybe some suggestions to help you to enhance, to bring more value to that area. Why I became a self-care strategist, really, it goes back a long story. And I know that for sakes of time, I want to try to keep this as succinct as possible. But I really began in the corporate world and I was a slave to my time. And when I, back in 2018, decided that I needed to take back the one thing that I felt was out of my control, which was my time, that's when my life changed. And so back in March of 2018, I said goodbye to a full-time corporate position. I was working in a law firm, and I was able to, with them, design a position for me to still support them online. So I've been doing that now for almost 7 years, but at the time it was going to be just a trial. And because it worked for them, it was something that they'd been thinking about for many years, really, that I was able to fill this position, fill this role, and support them. That opened up my time to go out and do other things. And so going through the last 6 years really is through self-development, learning about myself, doing the inner work to heal from a lot of things that I didn't realize I needed healing from, healing inside to really love myself because I didn't really feel that I loved myself. And so I wasn't really doing those things to really take care of me. And so when I did all of those things, and then I recognized, wow, this is something that I could really help other women do. This is something I love. I know how good I feel. I want to be able to pay that forward. So I decided to step into coaching and really only solidified how I was going to coach women, I would say mid of 2019. And once I did from there, I just started building on my practice, building on how I was supporting women and recognizing so many different areas of what I think are self-care related, like the emotional resilience, to being learning about emotional burnout, to professional burnout, which we've talked about that before, or being able to have making yourself a priority, because I know a lot of women, especially if you're moms, even grandparents, or even caregivers, that everyone else comes above you. And at times, probably most times, you don't have time for you. And so what ends up happening is you continues to serve and at some point find yourself depleted. And so I wanted to be able to be that one to come in and support women around this, to help them to realize that you need to take care of you so that you can show up in your world the way you want to. So that's kind of a little bit about it.
I love it. You had so much going on there. So first of all, you were online in 2018 before everybody else went online in 2020. So that was really good on you, especially like entrepreneurs and moms who just don't take the time. It seems like frivolous. You know what I mean? It seems like, oh, well, I don't, I've got to get what needs to get done. I don't need to spend time making myself feel good. And I know that that's what you're countering, or what you're helping people recognized. So that's fantastic. Do you want to talk a
Yeah.
little bit about what types of people do you work with? Are they mainly women?
Yes, so I work with women. I primarily are working with women who are in that wellness space. So if you have some sort of wellness aspect to your business, you could be a business coach and do mindset work, or a financial planner, or a strategist who has energy healing or Reiki healing to help your clients. I want to be able to support those women because they are the ones. And again, sorry, going back, also consultants, wellness consultants could be healthcare providers, such as a health coach. It could be anything where you have that wellness aspect to your business. Those are the women I want to support. And the reason being is that I know how difficult it can be when you are the person that people are going to for support. That if you don't take care of yourself, you start to feel burnt out. You start to feel like there's low energy. And a lot of women I've talked to, it's unfortunate, and I think it's just because they're not thinking about it, because it's go, 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 quick, quick, quick to the next thing, that they're not recognizing the symptoms are actually signs for them to become aware of that they could be in a burnout phase or heading towards burnout. But instead, most women that I've spoken with, it's usually, oh, I'm just having an off day. I'm just chalking it up to an off day, or I didn't sleep well last night, so that's why I'm low energy, but not recognizing that there's a pattern that could have been up for the last 2 weeks working on a project because you have a deadline, and you've been going to bed super late and falling into bed right after work, and maybe finding it hard to fall asleep or stay asleep because you've got so much going on that is interrupting your rest. And then you wake up the next day, you don't really have that energy, but you feel like you don't have a choice to continue, and you push. So those are the women I want to support, because I know that when they can serve from that fullness, that wholeness of themselves, where they take care of them, they show up better and more better equipped to serve their clients.
I love that. I love what you said earlier on. Say yes to the things that fuel you and say no to everything else. And I think that's something that's really hard and to do, especially for women, because they're used to doing everything. But I think that they probably have more control, or they can have more control over their time and over the things that they commit themselves to. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I think too, we live in the world of now, like everything, we want everything done now. So what I find is that if you are working on something and something else pops up that you have been thinking about, instead of saying, okay, well, right now my priority is this, sometimes you might find yourself gravitating to that additional thing and saying yes, and filling space in your calendar that you really don't have the capacity for, especially if you want to have a quality of life, meaning you want to have time to work, but you also want to have time to spend with your loved ones, with your family, with your friends, with doing just things on your own and enjoying life. But we tend to live in this world of, okay, being productive. Productivity seems to be the thing, right? And so being productive doesn't mean that you overextend your calendar. And I think that's something that I learned very early on as an entrepreneur. I didn't really learn it in time to keep myself from going 2 years of being all over the place. That's one of the reasons why I really do what I do, because I've lived and experienced that if you don't have that clarity of and being able to say no, and not saying thinking that, oh, that came now, and feeling like if I don't say yes to that now, it's never going to come back again. Instead, adopting the mindset that this is priority right now, that's showing up right now, but is it really, it's not important because it doesn't align with what I'm working on. And also that maybe, it'll come back. If it doesn't mean that it's not my plan. It just means I'm going to look for something else. And also it can open you up when you're open to the fact that I can say no to that right now. Something better might show up for you if you're open to it. But if you hold yourself to a rigid plan, and then that thing comes along and then you commit time to it, you might not have it. So I really think it's important that we look at how we use our time, because time is our most valuable commodity, and you don't get it back. Even though you get more time tomorrow, it's not the same, because what you did yesterday is maybe similar to what you're doing today, but not the same. It's a fact of life that we grow older each day, and we're not going to be here forever. We're not immortal. We don't live forever. So we have to look at that. How do we use our time? And also being able to look back over your lifetime and say, wow, I allowed myself to have quality of life. I wasn't all over the map where everything I missed out on, and now I have regrets because I missed out on so much.
Wow, you threw a whole lot of great stuff in there. But let me backtrack a little bit. First of all, making yourself a priority. Absolutely. And I don't know if people don't recognize that they're not making themselves a priority, I think. And that was part of, I think, what you have We were talking about saying yes to everything. So I think if anybody's listening now, for all of our listeners, let's all practice saying no. So Leslie, would you like to, go out and do something tomorrow?
No. But the thing is too, you can say sometimes no feels too abrupt, and maybe it's something that you truly want to do. So I always say no's second cousin is not right now. And you can always say, well, for example, someone asks you to do something. I've had people say, well, if somebody asks me to do something, that means they want it right now. And that's not always the case. I learned that because I had been in the industry of law for many years, still a little bit of a footprint, but over 4 decades now. And I understand that in order to be able to do your job well, you have to have some idea of what's priority. And the only way you're going to know that is if you ask. So if someone asks you to do something and you can say, well, for example, someone says, hey, Jeannie, you want to go out for lunch tomorrow? And you say, well, tomorrow doesn't work for me, but I'm free on Friday. Would that work for you? And I can say yes or no, or what time, and we can work it out. Nothing is written in stone. And also the other thing too is if someone comes to you with a priority that they need right now, but you're working on something else, or they have a timeline on it that you might not feel is doable, I would just come back and say, look, I know this is what you're looking for. I know you want quality. And I feel that if you give me this extra, say 2-3 hours or till the next morning, I'm going to give you back better than if you ask me to just do it this quick and I'm going to be rushing it. And so being able to have that conversation, most times people are open to that dialogue. But they're open to dialogue. But I think a lot of people get scared. They don't ask people for more specifics. And that's where people over invest time that they don't have, and they become overwhelmed and their calendar gets out of control.
Yeah. Do you feel like that could have something to do with confidence? Being confident enough to say, you know what, I would love to help you. I just can't do that right now. I could get that done for you by Monday, or you can't work with you right now because I have a waiting list, but I would love to work with you. Let's touch base in 2 weeks. Maybe two things, maybe practicing what you might say.
Yeah. So here's the thing. What I want to say to that is a lot of times people might think it's confidence, but it could really be it's a worth question. I'm not worthy unless I do something for someone. I'm not good enough unless I do something for someone. And I have to get that validation that it was good so that I know that I'm a good person, so that I'm good enough. So that's why I think a lot of people, I'm included in that. I used to be like that, where I felt like if I didn't do something right away, if I didn't say yes, that I was going to be seen as a non-team player, that I couldn't be counted on, that people wouldn't come to me anymore and ask me for help. And I didn't want that. But I had to also understand that I can't say yes to everything or everyone. And sometimes I don't want to say yes. Some things I just don't want to say yes to. And that's okay. You don't have to say yes. You don't actually have to have a full day's calendar. Oh my gosh. Ooh, I hope some people are probably going, what? But it's true. You can have open space on your calendar for whatever you want it to be. You could have an afternoon free. Just decided like next Monday, I'm only going to work from 9 until 1 p.m. And then from the rest of the day on, it's mine. I can do whatever I want. You don't have to fill it with anything, but you can just do whatever you want. People get so worried that they have to fill every moment of their every single day. That's why people get overwhelmed and tired and burnt out, instead of looking at life as like, okay, I have this extra time. What would I like to do with it? Maybe I want to call up my friend Jeannie and say, hey, let's go for a coffee. Or maybe I want to go to the beach and have an afternoon brainstorming session because I'm working on something. I have a project I'm working on and I want to go do it by the beach. There's so much to just having that space. It also is very calming when you can look at your calendar and say, wow, I have a very light day. It just makes you feel good.
It does. And it kind of goes back to that productivity. I feel like, no one is productive, for 8 hours straight. It's just not part of our energy. And so I think sometimes we convince ourselves that if we're sitting in front of that desk and we're in front of the computer, we're working and we're being productive. No, you might just be busy. Yeah. Or you might not be getting anything done, but just sitting there thinking about what needs to get done. So I think it's so, like you said, it's so important to take those breaks. And then the second thing I thought of when you said, oh, I'm going to take the afternoon off is, we always get so much more done the day before a vacation. So if you can kind of put that in perspective where we're just, so productive because we know we're going to be rewarded and we want to be away and not be working. So I always thought that was, it kind of fell into the productivity and the energy and the motivation.
Yeah, and I think it's important though that people track their energy because sometimes we, especially say you're not a morning person and your energy is in the afternoon, but you've decided to book these really high intense brainstorming sessions with your team in the morning and you just don't have the energy for it, or vice versa. You've booked it for the afternoon and you know your best, most uh, energetic time is in the morning and you decided to do it in the afternoon instead, you can still do it, but but then that means that how can you support yourself to do that then? So as an example, what I would say is if you're going to have a meeting in the afternoon, that's really important. That's a brainstorming session with your team. And you have to be, you want to feel like you're on point and feel good about it, about yourself being there, energetic, is I would make sure you're hydrating, that you're eating something nutritious that's going to give you that energy, and that you're also making sure that leading up to that, you're taking breaks throughout your day leading up to that meeting so that you're not walking into that frazzled from something else. So that's how you can support yourself in that. So it's really learning about not only your time management, but your energy management and how do you support your energy in those time slots where you're typically not as energized. And so again, that's why I was saying learning like how to make sure that you support yourself there, but also too, making sure that you do know your time slots that are where you have the most energy and focus. Plan for that as well. We can't always do that, but at least if we have that mindset, we're going to be able to have more of those days and feel good about it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So if someone does not have a self-care plan and is not taking good care of themselves, but they realize that they're running themselves ragged, where would you say they should start? Can you give them just a few tips or a few things to bring into their life to start them on the right path?
Sure. First thing is number one is looking at your calendar. It comes back to that. But I think a lot of the time, especially if you're using a digital calendar, you're using a written, an open planner where you write into it. That also can be telling. But sometimes we have those digital calendars which are out of sight, out of mind until you open them up. So look at your calendar. What's on there, and what kind of tasks are on there? Do you have back-to-back meetings? That's leaving no time for you to even take a break to go outside and just walk around or just to sit and breathe for a few minutes, just be yourself. So I would say check your calendar to see how you're filling it. Look at 7 days and see what's on your calendar and look at your patterns. Are you the type of person that is maybe not structuring your days where you're using your best energy times to your advantage, but you're doing it the other way around? So looking at that, that's the first place I would start. And then I would say start adding in 1 to 2, no more than, try adding 1 or 2 things into your day. I would say start your day with something to start your day up with a win, meaning it could be anything. It could be you might have a beautiful garden. Grab your coffee or your tea of choice, whatever beverage you drink, go and sit in your garden for 5 minutes and just look at, drinking your coffee or drinking your tea and looking around and just taking in the sights around you. Life is going on around you, but sometimes we get so oblivious to things. We don't even notice that the birds are singing or they're flying around or the squirrels are chasing each other. We just become so oblivious to it. So starting your day with a win, something like that is great. Maybe another way to start your day, it might sound really funny, but making your bed first thing as soon as you get up. That's starting your day with a win. Starting small with little things that can make you feel good. Like, oh, I made my bed. Now I feel like it's less out of control. Or going out and having my coffee outside gives me that just moment of peace for myself. Starting small and then adding things in, depending on your lifestyle. Not everyone has 2 hours in the morning to dedicate. Like I do have 2 hours in the morning I can dedicate directly to myself. So I do, but not everyone does have that time. So what works for you? It could be just doing, as I was saying, a five minute check-in with yourself by sitting outside, drinking your coffee and looking around, enjoying what's going on around you. Could be meditating. Maybe you like to meditate. Maybe you like to journal. I think journaling is fantastic because a lot of the time we have a lot going on up here, up in our brains, good and bad. all of the negative stuff, all the positive stuff, our dreams, our hopes, our dreams, and then all the things that are limiting beliefs and what we don't want. And if you get all of that onto paper, you can see what you're working with. Simple journaling in the morning, even if it's only 5 minutes of journaling, just getting your thoughts onto paper, I think would be great. So whatever that is, start your day with a win. And then throughout the day, make sure you're taking breaks, hydrate yourself, make sure you're eating well, especially if you have meetings or you have big tasks that you're going to be working on. And then have a hard stop at the end of your day. These are just little things, but they can help you to start feeling good about yourself. So those are just some things that I would suggest for someone who's maybe not thought about, like, what is self-care? It's not someone saying to you, I'm not saying to you, go get yourself a mani-pedi. Although if you want to go in the middle of the day, you have the time, go do that. It's something for you, and it's taking a break and allowing yourself to get away from the daily grind of everything else. So yeah, just finding what works for you. And another thing would be, if you have friends that are already practicing self-care, ask them what's working for them and see what they can share with you. Because a lot of the time our friends, we're looking to them for support. So if they can support us that way with something that's working for them, we already know, like, and trust them, they're going to be able to help us out. So that's what I would tell someone who's brand new or is thinking about it and they know they're not. And then the last part to that too is, if you're a mom, I get it. Your kids are important to you. I'm not a mom, but I know from my friends watching them that their kids came first, have always come first for them in everything. And that's okay to a point. You want to be able to show your kids that you are just as important as they are, that taking care of you is important. And so you're model that behavior for them by saying, hey, mom needs, 15 minutes. I'm going to go do something for myself. It's not because I don't want to be around you. They're going to start understanding, like, oh, mom's doing a self-care moment. That could be something that could trickle down into your family. They're like, oh, because like I have a friend, her kids come home from school and will say, one of her children will say, Mom, I had a rough day today. I just need 30 minutes to myself. And she's so proud of him for that, because that just means he's going to decompress. And then after that, she says he's a totally different kid. So it makes a lot of sense when you can model that in the home. But again, as I said, it's starting small, especially if it's something you need to do, but you haven't been doing, and you think that it's a waste of time, but actually it's supportive.
I love that. Well, that was a ton of tips. Again, so much. So many great ideas. And like Leslie said, you don't have to do them all at once. Pick one. Take 5 minutes and pick one, whether that's morning, afternoon, evening, and just get started. Just get started today. These are so great. So Leslie, tell us, do you work just one-on-one with people? Do you have group sessions? And then where would you like people to reach out to you?
Yeah, so right now I am working one-to-one with my clients through my coaching program, the Wholesale Blueprint, and it's an 8-week experience. And so that's where I'm working now with my clients. I don't have that in the group format yet. It's still in beta stage, this because it's a condensed version of my longer program that I was offering. So right now it is one-to-one. I do want people to know that if they want to reach out to me, that you can find me on Facebook, or you can find me on LinkedIn. That's pretty easy. Or you can go directly to my website, herextraordinarylifebydesign.co. You can find me there. You'll find what I do on there as well. So I think those are the places I would go.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll put those in the show notes so people have a really easy way to access that. So last question for you is, if you could give the world one tip to make it a better place, what would that be?
It's kind of like a two for one, I guess. But as first is making yourself a priority, because that shows other people how you want to be treated. And then that also shows you how you want to treat other people. So making yourself a priority and putting your self-care as a staple on your calendar. I think self-care should be on our calendar first, and then everything else can go in there, because that means you're prioritizing yourself. Now that's really easy, super easy, but the next step is holding yourself accountable to it, right? So having a buddy, a self-care buddy, your friend saying, I've decided that I'm going to walk for 15 minutes every morning before I decide to work. And then your friend can check in with you saying, how did your week go? It doesn't have to be a daily check-in, but as long as they're checking in with you, that the daily check-in, I think, might make someone feel bad, especially if they've missed it, because life happens and, it's not perfect. But at least if you are keeping up consistency, that's the good thing. The reason why I say it's a 2-for-1, because when you are modeling that self-care is important and you're putting it on your calendar first, and if you're a mom or if you are a mentor or if you work with a team, you can show them that it's important to take care of yourself. So it becomes that that important aspect of your life, of your business life, of your personal life that you can share with other people. And that helps other people to have quality of life. I believe that it is something that I would love the world to become part of, like a self-care globalized movement where families at the dinner table, whether it's every night at the dinner table, if they can do that, or if it's every Sunday night, they do a Sunday dinner and they talk about what self-care means, what life is about, meaning for them, and being able to support each other and pour into each other and say, these are the things that I think are really important. And what I do, and this might help you. And the reason why I say do that is because family is like a community as well. So if you have a community and you're pouring into them, imagine pouring into your family as part of your community. They then can go out into the world. When they go out and they see other people, they can influence them as well. And it's an influence for good of taking care of you. And so that everyone feels good about themselves and they start living more quality of life. So I know that was a long answer, but I'm so passionate about it.
You certainly are. And it sounds like you could be starting a movement here. That's how it starts.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Leslie. I know our listeners are getting a ton of value, and we're going to practice that word this week. No, or I'm sorry, I'm not able to do that right now. How about at a later time? All good stuff.
I love that.
So thanks again, Leslie, for joining me today. Thanks for joining us today on Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights. We hope you're leaving this episode with inspiration to take your coaching business and your life to the next level. If you found value in this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing it. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.